Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Aseem, and can anyone guess? I'm just going to crowdsource a lot of things here. Can anyone guess where is this? So I'm actually at this point standing on top of a building. We were volunteering as part of Habitat for Humanity in that's South San Francisco. You can see the sign behind, and it was a great experience for me because one of my colleagues, he invited me for a birthday party. And I went there thinking that we're going to be in a bar and having beers, and turns out that he's signed us up for volunteering to build a house. That was one of the best experiences for me. When you give with friends, it's simply amazing. And today I want to talk about how do you take those kind of experiences and use them and implement them in a place like Singapore and in a place like Asia. If you look at this study which was done by the Charities Aid Foundation in 2011, it essentially asks people three questions, which is, have you given time in the last month? Have you given money in the last month? Have you helped any stranger in the last month? Turns out Singapore is number 91. Anyone wants to guess which is number one country in terms of giving? Anybody? Sorry? Bhutan. Not Bhutan? Yeah, that's US. So US turns out to be number one country in terms of giving. And as you can see, the only country which kind of comes close in Asia is Sri Lanka, is Hong Kong, is Thailand. So pretty interesting in terms of like how cultures make a difference to our giving patterns. Now, what we have focused on at Give is essentially creating movements. So these are crowdsourced movements, and we define movement as a collective action by individuals or organizations who are trying to affect a social change. And generally, if you guys are familiar with how giving works in Singapore and in a lot of countries around here, is that it's a very top-down approach. So essentially, a nonprofit will approach you as if you're a volunteer and say, hey, here's a donation can. Why don't you go to this, this train station where there are going to be a lot of people, just stand there and smile. And hopefully you will get some money. So I had the experience of going through this experience about 5 years back when I was still studying. It was not a very pleasant experience. And that kind of made me ask myself, is there a way to do this in a better way? Is there a way we can essentially take stuff which people are passionate about and channel that into them doing something good for a cause? So we are all familiar with all these terms which are being thrown around, from crowdfunding, from Web 2.0, collaborative economy, and I mean we've seen a lot of startups. And 3 years back we asked ourselves the question, what would Philanthropy 2.0 look like? And as we asked ourselves this question, we found a lot of interesting examples from across the world. One of the first ones which really caught my attention, I had the chance to meet the founders of Kiva, is this whole concept where you can donate very small amount of money, like $5, $10, but it's going to make a huge difference in the lives of people in third world countries who can then use this money to invest into their businesses and into their future. We also have the example of Ushahidi, where you can use your mobile phones to essentially submit information related to disasters happening in real time, which essentially warns everyone that here's some area in Africa which you should not go because there's a riot happening right there. And then there's a game called Free Rice. Has anyone heard about this or played this game? All right, a couple of people. So Free Rice was an interesting concept. The whole idea was that anyone could go to this website called Free Rice, and you will be asked simple questions related to language learning. And every time you get a right answer, World Food Program will donate amount to charities. So these are just kind of ideas which we saw, and we realized that there is in fact a way of channeling people's passion into helping those who need it, into helping nonprofits. So our idea was, there's another one, Trustival. So Trustival comes from this whole concept of tweeting, meeting, and giving. So different cities start tweeting that they want to support a particular charity. They set up a place to meet, and all these people meet up at this place and they raise funds for charities. So organizations like Charity Water, organizations like Room to Read have used this concept to organize very successful festivals across the world. And it's a great place to meet like-minded people as well. So the question which we started with was, is there a way to put Asia onto this map and bring this crowdsourced giving and this whole lifestyle of giving into Asia? So this is how Give essentially works. What you have is a person who believes in a particular social cause, visit the website. He picks up a charity which he's interested in. He comes up with an idea or a movement. So we have different kind of ideas, like people say that they're going to run a marathon, or some people say they're going to shave their head, they're going to grow a mustache. So there are all these kind of creative ideas that come in, and they set up their profile as a champion, and then next we see their friends and their communities and their colleagues getting involved in supporting this fundraisers or these champions, helping them raise the funds for the charity of their choice. So here are some of the numbers. So we started in 2010, and it's been about 2.5 years. Since we have about 50,000 people in our community, we've raised we've channeled over $5 million for different causes in Singapore as well as across Asia. We work with over 125 nonprofits in Singapore, now expanding into countries like India, Malaysia, and Hong Kong. And I think I just want to use this opportunity to kind of share a few of the stories or the lessons we've learned, and perhaps that might help you guys in whatever crowdfunding projects or crowdsourcing projects you're working on. So one thing which we have kind of realized is, what is it that is inspiring these individuals to either initiate or join these movements? And I think one of the first most important reason is, we want to be happy. And I think it goes back to, if you guys have heard of this recent study which was done, which identified something called the Gandhi neuron, or the empathy neuron, which essentially says that if you see someone in pain, you will feel a part of the pain. Or if you see someone happy, you're going to feel a part of their happiness. And essentially that's one of the reasons why I think we as humans are centered to help those in need. There's another aspect of it, which is providing opportunities to other people, which kind of makes you feel important and makes you feel that you are a positive and a contributing member of the society. Thirdly, to create success stories. I think it's really amazing to look at organizations like Room to Read, where you can just donate $1 and you can provide books in the mother languages of different people in third world countries. And just being able to do that with $1 and being able to create a success story is something truly fascinating. And finally, I think this is very important, which is to be able to create a movement. Is anyone here from San Francisco? Anyone heard of this thing called critical mass? Yeah? So critical mass is a very cool concept. I've been trying to see if we can start this in Singapore. But the whole idea is that I think on one day of the month, there's this tweet or this kind of message that starts going across that we're going to meet at a specific place in San Francisco and we're going to start cycling. So by the end of the day, you essentially have about 5,000 cyclists that somehow turn at one place. And they're just waiting. They're waiting because they don't really know who organized this and where is this going to go. And suddenly there will be one guy who'll start shouting, and it's like, we're going this way. And then he will start and he will get like 10 people to follow him, and 100 and 1,000. And before you know, you have these 5,000 cyclists with one guy in front just taking shots at, turning right or turning left without anyone having any idea where we're going. And what ends up happening is that I was in San Francisco, luckily, for a nonprofit conference, and one of my cyclist friends said, hey, I've got a cycle, do you want to join? And I enjoy being part of movements. I like to experience that. And I said, yeah, sure, we'll go ahead. And we somehow joined this movement, and we started cycling. And you should have just seen the look on the face of these drivers, the car drivers who were just standing there for 10 minutes. And it's all green light, but these cyclists wouldn't stop because there's 10,000. And I think that's something very fascinating when you think about movements. The moment when you give tools of empowerment to people and you group together, you can do a lot of great things. And I will share a quote later at the end of the presentation, which essentially says that nobody wakes up in the morning, or I guess very few people wake up in the morning and say, hey, I want to see a world which is full of wars. I want to see a world which is full of child trafficking and a lot of slavery and a lot of evil things. But in fact, that's the world we are living in, where there's so many evils and there's so many bad things happening in the society. And then you kind of question, if we didn't really want this, then why do we have it? And I think it brings us to that interesting realization that today we have the tools that we need to change that world. And anyone and everyone can actually be part of that movement to actually start doing something, and we will see a reversal. So I'm just going to share some of the successful case studies and stories that we have seen in the past. But before I do that, I think these are the three components of any successful movement. You need to have an easy action, you need to have a fun reward, and you need to have a clear impact. And we have seen again and again in different movements which have really taken off all these three components. I don't know if has anyone heard of Movember? Yeah. So it was started by four guys, Australian guys who were in a bar, and they kind of thought of this, that hey, why don't we do this campaign? We were going to grow a mustache for a month, and we're going to raise funds for men-related health issues. And what ended up happening was that this movement just grew and grew and grew. Last year they raised over $100 million across the world, and people in every country raised funds. So they used Give Asia platform, and there were a lot of companies, a lot of individuals who had their mustaches. Even a lot of people who couldn't grow mustache here in this part of the world, they had fake mustache on, and we saw a lot of success. There's another example of Earth Hour. So just started a couple of years back, the whole idea being you switch off the lights for 1 hour, and this campaign in itself has been hugely successful globally, and that's where we are really seeing the same components again and again. There's a local campaign which was started about 15 years back by 4 volunteers, and their idea was that they wanted to show empathy for cancer patients, and most of the child cancer patients had to shave their head, which kind of made them feel awkward. So the volunteers said, we're going to shave our head and we're going to try to raise funds. In the first year, that movement raised about $1,000, but fast forwarded to today, this campaign is one of the most successful campaigns in Singapore, raising over $20, $30, $40 million. So I think what we are really seeing, whether it be equity-based crowdfunding or other kinds of crowdfunding, even in charity sector, is this. We are seeing how technology is empowering the 99%. Stuff which was available only for the 1%, be it driving in the limos or having a store, having a corporate hotel, or having a car rental, is now coming to the 99%. And I see that in charity as well. The people who essentially used to have a lot of fun doing charity were the rich kids, like people who are spending a lot of money, being invited for gala dinners and feeling really great, whereas that experience is now being brought to the 99% of the donors. And the same thing, I also see this another trend where you have this solutions for sometimes roles, which in fact means that we are not always philanthropists, we are not always volunteers, but we are sometimes volunteers, we are sometimes philanthropists. And we need tools which are geared for those experiences. If we are not able to provide those experiences which are seamless and which are social, people are essentially not going to spend their time doing those things. So this is an example of how Give, my organization, has been creating platforms which make these sometime roles of being a volunteer and being a philanthropist more user-friendly and easy to use. So these are a couple of platforms we built. The platform which we started back in 2010 in Singapore has already raised over $2.5 million locally in Singapore alone. We started a platform for Habitat for Humanity. It's one of the 5th largest nonprofit in the world, builds affordable homes for people in third world country. We launched this platform this year. Early this year, it's already raised about $500,000. It's operational in 10 countries across Asia, including Korea, Japan, China, Hong Kong, etc. And we're also seeing companies, corporates like Aviva, who are interested in having their internal platforms where they can empower their employees and their community members to give back. So just kind of rounding it up, I think crowdsourcing has really allowed us to expand the number of people we can reach, and as we get more people to contribute to these movements, we see better results. Singapore's biggest public event called the Standard Chartered Marathon partnered with us, and what they saw is just introducing this element of crowdfunding increased the success of their charity program, raising $20,000 the previous year to now raising $500,000 in just 1 year. We've also seen informal groups like Charity Bike and Blade. So 100 volunteers every year get their cycles and cycle 300 kilometers, and each of them raises funds for charity. In the first year they used us, they jumped from 150,000 to 385,000 and then to 550,000. So we are really seeing the power in making this whole experience more social. And finally, what we are also seeing is how opening these ideas and this creativity up for people leads to more ideas. So here's an example of this secondary school kid who, after Haiti earthquake, came up with the idea of starting a movement where he asked all different musicians in Singapore to submit their own renditions of their favorite songs, and for every song they uploaded, they got the community members to support them by making donations to World Vision. We've also seen interesting examples like Style for a Cause. So in this campaign, what happens is that you say that you're going to raise funds for charity, and you set up a target, and your friends will then vote on what kind of hairstyle would they want you to have once you've raised the funds. So we saw a lot of crazy hairstyles people had to do after they raised funds through Give. Finally, we also had this campaign called Love There, where the campaign was about raising funds from your social network, and if you're able to raise, say, $500, you have to hug 500 strangers and make a video of yourself showing that. So we saw a lot of people in Orchard Road hugging strangers for charity. Finally, this whole movement is really growing of giving away birthdays. I think it wouldn't be wrong to say that after about 18 birthdays lose their charm. It's almost the same thing every time. So we are seeing a lot of individuals giving away their birthdays for causes they care about and raising funds in the process. This last example just started a couple of days back. So a bunch of students from the university, local university, came up with this idea of holding the longest dance-a-thon. So the idea being that every hour you'll have different genres of music, and individuals will be dancing to different beats, and each of them would be raising funds for their favorite cause. And mind you, these all ideas are not from us, these are from the community, and we're just providing a platform for that. In the end, I would just leave you with this quote by Ray Suarez, which is, "Nobody ever comes out and says they are in favor of starving children or inadequate sanitation or war and conflict, and yet they persist. So how is it that if no one else is for these things and everyone is against them, these problems continue?" Thank you.